Of Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports.
How to explain Wake Forest's recent domination of Duke? Dave Odom's Deacons have 4 straight wins over the Devils. The common thread, Randolph Childress. He has saved his best for the Dukies, averaging 19 a game in his career. And in January, Randolph powered the Deeks with 22 in the second half in a performance that brought a smile to the face of all Deacon faithful, including the great Charlie Davis. It was an emotional Duke team that snapped its 9-game ACC losing streak here Thursday against Georgia Tech. Maybe the breaks will start going in Duke's favor. Late in the game against the Jackets, Drew Barry trips and falls, freeing Trajan Langdon for the open shot and the go-ahead bucket in a 7-point win over Georgia Tech. But can they find a way to beat the Deeks? The answer is a wait.
Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports present the best in college basketball, the Atlantic Coast Conference. Tonight's game is brought to you by Continental Airlines, by Nations Bank, by Nationwide Insurance, by MCI, and by Budweiser.
The sigh of relief at Cameron Indoor Stadium was measured at about 30 miles an hour 48 hours ago as Duke defeated Georgia Tech. They're right back at it this afternoon as they take on the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. A very pleasant good afternoon, everybody. Bob Rathbun along with Bucky Waters here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. A very emotional win for the Devils.
Yeah, it really was. I saw teeth around here after that game, and the next morning I hadn't seen for some time. But the key, it was a win in the way they had to do it, Bob. It was freshmen. It was free throw shooting. They were in jeopardy. If they'd have won by 20, it would not have had the positive impact I think that win had, because they really had to struggle for it.
Now, that game on Thursday night against Georgia Tech was Duke's first ACC win after 9 consecutive defeats. And yesterday we had a chance to talk to Pete Gaudette, and he spoke about the emotions involved in gaining that first win of the new year.
I was real pleased that, you know, with the fashion that we won the game, and real pleased the way we came out and with the emotion that we've still had, despite the fact that, you know, we've been losing. And I've said all along that, you know, we all chose to play in this league. The coaches have chosen to coach in this league, and the games are going to be played at a very high level.
Bucky, we saw at the end of that Georgia Tech game, Trajan Langdon hit the game-winning shot. Ricky Price followed that with another big bucket, and it gave Duke the win. These two freshmen really playing well now as Duke starts to put it back together.
Well, you know, they're starting around the league for the second time. They say you start cutting your wisdom teeth the first time you bite off more than you can chew. Maybe that's what happened in the first time around the league, but they are playing better and they are talented.
This Wake Forest ball club's had Duke's number. We'll talk about that when we continue from Cameron Indoor Stadium. It's the Deeks and the Blue Devils. We'll have more from Cameron in a moment. Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Wake Forest won the first matchup earlier in Winston-Salem. In fact, the Deacons have held the Blue Devils' number. They've won 4 straight in this series, the last 2 in this building, and they've won 5 of the last 6 overall. And really the common denominator has been Randolph Childress, Bucky. He has been a Duke destroyer.
Well, sometimes he's had help. He's had Rodney Rogers inside, and he's had this fellow Tim Duncan, who is a major player inside, and a lot of times he just does it by himself. In the first game, he had 2 points in the first half, tried to get everybody involved, didn't like the way that was going, so he got 22 in the second half. Somehow or other, he manages to score over Grant Hill or over whomever. That guy can really play.
Well, it was in this building last year when Childress destroyed Duke with this shot late in the game. With the Deacons trailing by 2, Childress indeed over Grant Hill, buries the 3. And Randolph made a winner of the Deacons that day. Pete Gaudette knows, everybody knows, Randolph wants it at the end.
Randolph Childress is up at the top. He's going to take the last shot. Everybody knows it. The guy playing him knows it. Grant Hill knew it, and he put it in over Grant. Now, against Florida State, he missed that shot.
Whether it is the last minute of the game, the first minute of the game, or the 38 in between, Duke has got to find a way to slow him down.
Yeah, they really do, and Blakeney's going to start. Hopefully that will help. He did a nice job on Best He's the best defender they have right now. But the old joke about stop, contain, this guy Childers, as a money player, he's no small change. And he is the key, stopping him, containing him, to Duke winning today.
Well, the Deacons have figured out a way to beat the Devils, as we mentioned, 4 straight. We spoke earlier this morning with Dave Odom, and he expressed to us his concerns going into this second game of the Duke series this year.
We've got to establish some law and order here in Cameron to begin with. You know, the crowd is going to be alive as it should be. You know, early, say the first 4 to 8 minutes of the game, I think, are critical, that we get in the game and give ourselves a chance.
It is a game, Bucky, that has a lot of interesting matchups. We'll see them all play out here today as the Deacons go head-to-head with the Duke Blue Devils. When we come back, we'll meet today's starting lineups. But first, this message from Budweiser. From Cameron Indoor Stadium on the Duke University campus, ACC basketball today as the Wake Forest Demon Deacons go head-to-head with their longtime rivals, the Duke Blue Devils. Good afternoon, everybody. Bob Rathman, Bucky Waters. Welcome to ACC basketball, and quite a matchup today between these two North Carolina rivals, Duke and Wake Forest. Let's meet today's starting lineups, and we begin with the visitors from Winston-Salem, a ball club that's coming off a loss against Florida State on Wednesday. A powerful front line led by Travis Banks and Tim Duncan, Jerry Braswell and Randolph Childress in the backcourt, and Banks did a terrific job, Bucky, containing Cherokee Parks in Game 1 in Winston.
Yeah, and he also went for 12 points and 7 boards, but his job today is do a number on Cherokee.
And the Duke lineup today. And Kenny Blakeney will start in the backcourt with Jeff Capel. He did a fine job on Best here Thursday. They've got him back in there today.
Yeah, you have to qualify that. Best had 25, but he's mercurial. But in addition to that, Blakeney gave him 13 points and 3 assists in 30 very tough minutes.
Pete Gaudet is the head coach of the Duke Blue Devils. Got that first ACC win under his belt and had the weight of the world taken off his shoulders. Dave Odom, since he became the head coach of the Deeks, is 6-5 against the Duke Blue Devils. We'll have the opening tip-off. It's Wake and Duke next. On this Saturday afternoon, we welcome you to Cameron Indoor Stadium at Duke for the Wake-Duke game. The Blue Devils coming off the win against Georgia Tech Thursday, now 11-11. The Deacons are 5-4 in ACC play, but they've won their last 2 in this building. These two clubs played what is generally regarded as the first college basketball game in this state. It was back on March the 2nd, 1906. But Wake has dominated the recent history, winning 4 straight and 6 of the last 8 overall. Opening tip goes to Duke.
It is not true that I was the defensive coordinator that day for the Blue Devils.
Here's Blakeney down the lane, and Duncan blocked that from behind. So Tim Duncan with a block shot right off the bat. Off Timmy's hand, and Eric Meek has it. That's going to be an interesting matchup to watch. Meek versus Duncan when Wake has the ball. Langdon uses his quickness, goes right around for all and scores.
Very interesting. In the first 2 segments, offensively for Duke, they went right at the big men. I think that's a smart way to play against Duncan. You've got to go right at him and challenge him.
Blakeney matched up with Childress. Braswell in the paint, and Duncan with the left hand. Missed it, but there's Banks. Wiggling inside to stuff it home. Scooter had 12 in the first matchup, and comes away with that loose one.
3 possessions for the Blue Devils. 3 times they took it right at the iron. Of concern to Pete Gaudet is that easy pass into the post. There's another one. Had the pass been better, Duncan would have been in better shape to score.
Duncan gets the offensive rebound. He is the ACC leader in that category.
In the NCAA, he's in the top 10 in 3 divisions. Block shots and rebounds and field goal percentage. Incredible sophomore year.
Too long on the jump shot, but Childress has the rebound. Wake won the first game, 74-64 in Winston on January 11th. Parole, guarded by Langdon.
There's the mismatch, 6'10" Parole versus Langdon.
Turnover. Blakeney does not have the numbers. Langdon, they drop off of him, and he bangs in the 3.
For Duke to really capitalize on what happened against a fine Georgia Tech team that's playing very well right now, they've got to attack. There's no way that they can lay back and try to play smart. They've got to max this crowd and go after them.
Randolph Childress ties the game at 5 with his three-pointer. Bucky, his shooting has not been that solid this season. 36% in ACC play, but boy, when he finds that Blue Devil team has the opposition, he really comes to play. Here is Meek following. A block and a hell ball, and the arrow will give the ball to Wake Forest. Boy, Duncan just wasn't going to move. He wasn't going to cooperate.
What's key about this is they're not going to Cherokee Parks. They're going at whoever is in Duncan's neighborhood. Look at Eric Meek battle, taking it back up. Duncan concerned about foul trouble, playing very smart down there. He very seldom gets emotional and makes a dumb foul. Wake Forest, a great counter-puncher. They play solid defense, great free throw shooting team, very comfortable in a 70-point game. That's not Duke's style.
Childress recovers quickly to cover Capel. Parks floats one in, the Chief with his first punch.
Boy, time of possession for Duke has been about 4 seconds. It's definitely not making Wake stay on the defensive end and work.
Similar bucket to game 1 in Winston-Salem. Duke took a lot of quick shots. In that game, Capel was hot for him.
Yeah, and what happened? They got out to a nice lead in that game, and then right before the half, Wake ran off 9 straight points to lead the score, and then absolutely blew them out. It was 14-point run in the second half. Here's that high-low dump down for all with a mismatch underneath with Trajan Langdon, the freshman from Alaska, giving away about 5 big inches inside when Peral posts up.
You see Peral's season numbers. He's a 66% foul shooter.
On the line. He's only 4 for 12 from the three-point line, Bob. His reputation, and most of us who have seen the big men from Europe, they're standing shooters, very good at three-point range. That has not been his forte so far.
Makes the board. 7-6 Blue Devils. And Langdon fumbles it out of bounds.
The classic unforced error. My goodness.
So Wake trying to take advantage of the miscue and take the lead. They trail by 1. The Deacons 14-5. Only 1 loss outside the league, and that was to the Florida Gators in Greensboro.
And that was by 11 points. Almost everything in the league has been very, very close. In fact, 3 of them by 5 points.
A three-pointer for Childress, his second of the day. Deacons lead by 2. Spins and misses. Blakeney inside, and look at Jackson just rip it right out of his hands.
Duke has yet to run what appears to be any sort of motion or set offense. They're coming down in quick shooting.
Steal by Capel. Blakeney gets out ahead of the pack.
Boy, good transition defense that time by Wake.
And at the travel on Parks.
A lot of teams make transition well, going from defense to offense. Wake, very impressive getting back that time.
Time out on the floor. We'll be back after this message from Budweiser. Early moments here at Cameron. Wake Forest leading by a deuce. Elsewhere in the ACC today, the Virginia Cavaliers won big at Clemson and at College Park, Maryland by 15 over Florida State. The Terps take a half-a-game lead in the ACC with the Tar Heels playing in Atlanta tomorrow against Georgia Tech. Wake Forest with it. Here's Banks playing to Jerry Braswell. We talked earlier, Bucky, about the Duke freshmen. The Wake freshmen have held their own. And Braswell strong to the bucket.
Indeed, they have. They haven't gotten a lot of publicity, but they have played extremely well in a limited fashion.
Capel for 3. Young's first bucket of the game.
I'm glad I'm not getting paid by the pass out there today. But this is positive for Duke. Wake is much more comfortable in a slower tempo. They're averaging 70 points. They've got great point guard play, and that's something Duke can't boast. Duke is only 3-8 in games decided by 10 or less points. They've got to hurry it.
Jackson, Duncan keeps it alive, saves it, and Braswell for 3, got it. Gary Braswell with just his 6th three-pointer in the league this year, and the Deacons lead it by 4.
Boy, there is all war going on down inside.
And this time, Antonio Jackson has the battle scars and picks up the foul. The first-year player from Aliceville, Alabama, Jackson, 6'8", 200. Coming up at halftime, stay tuned for the Continental Airlines Fast Takes contest, brought to you by Continental, the official airline of the ACC. Antonio getting a breather.
Sorry, Bob. Antonio Jackson only averaging 5 minutes a game. Look at the three-point shooting so far. And it's warm in this building, and it's warm around that arc. Neither team putting great pressure on the ball at this point.
Deacons playing zone. And Blakeney at the sideline takes it out of bounds. Oh, he called the timeout. He got the timeout to save the possession, but when you only have 3 precious timeouts with 14:02 left in the half, sometimes you might rather take the turnover. We will be back after this message from Carquest Auto Parts.
First time.
Welcome back to Cameron Indoor Stadium. Bob Rath and Bucky Waters, our ACC crew, with Wake Forest leading by 4. Duke basketball after the Blue Devil timeout. Price trying to take advantage of his quickness, but Perrault had it marked. Shot clock down to 1 and a block by Duncan. Wade gets it.
Notice how gently he blocks it. No knocking it in the upper deck. He keeps it in play.
And a whistle stops play inside. Newton muscling Duncan. And Greg Newton will pick up his first foul.
The presence of Duncan just gives defenses a problem. Here's Blakeney again challenging Tim Duncan just so deftly. He gets up on top of the ball, just brings it to the floor, and almost on cue, the Wake guards are there to pick him up. 5th in the nation, he skyjacks him.
And in just 2 seasons has become Wake Forest's all-time leading shot blocker.
And he won't be 19 years old until this summer. Extraordinary.
Rusty LaRue in the ball game, number 10. This is Banks working on Parks. Inside, knocked free. Perrault takes it down, held ball. And it will go over to Duke. Stay tuned at halftime when Dick Vitale presents the DirecTV Dish Out the Winners sweepstakes. 4 turnovers for the Deeks and a 4-point lead for Wake Forest at 14-10. Jeff Capel coming up to Ricky Price. I would think too, Bucky, when you got a fly swatter like Duncan, and Newton misses, that gives your guards and win people a chance to maybe gamble, knowing the rejector is waiting.
Well, it really does, but it also, you know, the block shot is kind of an emergency reaction. It's a poor defensive ploy. Percentages against you. You have goaltending, fouls, easy stick backs because your center has been pulled off the board. It's better to play solid defense than not have to rely on that big guy erasing your mistakes.
Ricky Perrault with the soft touch, his first field goal. And Wake Forest leads by 6.
Solid defense by the Deacons. In 19 games, only 4 teams have shot as well as 42%. They're counterpunchers. They sit back there, play you tough, and they make you beat them.
Langdon reverses and scores.
Just as I praised the defense, he puts it on the floor, goes all the way across, and draws no weak side help. Dave Odom shaking his head.
Childress. Banks controlled. Scooter. Cable went out away from him. Banks took the shot and missed it.
Boy, he won a gamble that time, leaving the man with the ball at 15 feet.
Price needs help, finds it at Cable. Childress with the reach in. His first.
Jeff Capel at the point right now, and Duke has really struggled trying to get point guard play. Here's that move. Trajan Langdon, the Alaskan Express, barrels through there, and nobody on the weak side of that Deacon defense wants to step in front. That's another thing. You rely on that shot blocker when it goes by. If he happens to be occupied, it's an easy layup.
Here's the cheat. And so much Bucky was made in the season with the departure, of course, of Grant Hill, who would lead this Duke team. And Cherokee Parks, despite all the losses that have happened, has really put together a whale of a season.
He really has. He's stepped up. He's worked hard. He hasn't complained. He's dependent on young, inexperienced players for the most part to get him the ball. The point guard problems, Wojciechowski, Blakeney, Capel, everybody kind of taking a shot, and he's never quit trying. It's been impressive.
Childress looking to the bench for the play call. LaRue.
Very concerned about keeping control of things here. Doing an excellent job of quieting the crowd, using some clock, and you can do that with a Randolph Childress.
I like what Dave said, Buck, in our pregame. Restoring law and order in the first 8 minutes.
Bad chance if these cabinet crazies have anything to say about it.
Shot clock down to 5, and Duncan. Timmy's first field goal makes it 18-14. The Deacon lead is 4.
Childress, for the most part, has been trying to get everybody else in the game in the first half and stepping up big time in the second half. He's been much more productive in the first half of this game.
5 turnovers for Duke. That was a problem against Wake in game 1. Duke turned it over 22 times. Here's Childress. Outside Perall. But it will go over to the Blue Devils of Duke. More ACC action, of course, next week and Wednesday nights. Our cameras will be in Winston-Salem for the Maryland-Wake game, 9 o'clock on Wednesday night. And boy, shouldn't that be a dandy? Duncan and Joe Smith. But first things first. We have Duke and Wake.
Yeah, Duncan and Smith, both surprises. The other great sophomores, Stackhouse and Wallace, everybody knew were going to be great players. But Smith and Duncan really have snuck up on people. So much for the recruiting gurus, right?
Childress. Right straight through the defense.
Coach Krzyzewski sitting at home would care to debate that with you. He went through there in a tuxedo. That should never, ever happen at this level. You got to have Band-Aids when you try to take it from the top of the key.
Perall. Muscling up on Meek. Rookie draws his first foul.
Florida State's win over Wake Forest earlier this week, they evolved to a 1-3-1 half-court trap, and it really gave the Deacons problems. There goes Randolph Childress, the threat of the three-point shot, draws the perimeter to him, but there was no support when he went down the lane.
Banks got a hand on it, and in the leaping contest, Duncan clears to Banks. Rusty tried to spot up for the 3. Great feed, but Goolsby couldn't hang on to it. 5 turnovers for Wake.
Dave Odom playing his bench quickly. Antonio Jackson getting a cameo early. Goolsby now in there. That's part of that good freshman class the Deacons have that haven't had a lot of publicity.
Wake Forest by 6. Capel some daylight. And look at Mr. Price. Ricky, who had 12 off the bench against Georgia Tech Thursday, his first 2. Goolsby, and it's stripped by Price. Blakeney, not wasting any time, putting that one up, and Eric Meek fouls Duncan. Argues with Steve Gordon about the call.
I think that Duke needs to really work that ball inside. Here's a good move. Ricky Price strips Goolsby. But the Blue Devils are having a difficult time turning any transition. Against Georgia Tech the other night, Bob, really for the first time that I can remember this season, the Blue Devils were throwing long outlet pass, they were laying it up, and they were going to the foul line more than their opponent. This year in the ACC, their opponents are shooting 4 more free throws per game than the Blue Devils. That's a statistic that's been unheard of in the good Blue Devil run. They always got to the line a lot.
LaRue, 4-3. He'd been in a shooting slump, but came up big at Florida State. He was 3 for 18, then hit 4 of 8 threes on Wednesday in Florida. Way short of the Chief. Duncan rebounds.
But there's no semblance of offensive structure there. People are just firing, and nobody's on the offensive board.
And again, Bucky, I think back to that first game in Winston-Salem when exactly the same script happened. It took Parks out of the game. He went 2 for 14, and Wade just pulled away.
You've got to remember that Childress and Duncan are both trying to play 39 minutes a game. You've got to really work them, make them sit on that defensive end, and play hard.
Duncan feeds and Banks stuffs. Scooter with 4. Nice assist from the big man, and the Deacons enjoy their biggest lead at 25-16.
Well, the Deacons are working a nice inside-outside thing offensively, too. They're hitting the threes, they're driving, they're making easy access passes into the post. The Blue Devil defense doesn't have much intensity right now.
Price. Ricky Price with 4. Starting to play the way he did before the ankle injury during the holidays.
There's no question he was making rapid progress. Exciting player early, big games early, and then really did struggle coming back from that injury. A lot of it's just personal confidence right now. I think the injury's fine.
They pounded in Perrault, and there's Price to take it away again. 2 big defensive strips by Price. Now can Ricky do it at the offensive end? Shut off now by the bigger Perrault. 6:22 left in the first half.
Scooter Banks always plays the toughest inside player for the opposition, and he's locked up right now with Cherokee. As you've already pointed out, they held Cherokee to 2 for 14 in Winston-Salem, and that was mostly Banks.
Lightning with his first 2. 25-20 Wake Forest.
This tempo of game leaves the crowd out of it.
All part of the Wake Forest plan. And Eric Meek does a good job getting around Duncan. Much more aggressive today, Bucky, than he was in the game in Winston as Eric Meek on Duncan.
But when the Deacons miss, or the Blue Devils get a steal, they still can't convert it into transition.
Whoa! Thank you very much.
Oh, reach out and touch somebody.
25-22 as Parks has scored 6.
That wasn't exactly the alley-oop Grant Hill made in the Final Four, but it still counts 2.
So Wake goes into Duncan. He misses, but look at Banks again inside to follow. That quiets the crazies momentarily. Wake by 5. Price. Over Perrault. Hits it. Boy, that was a big league shot.
This is schoolyard offense by Duke. They're just kind of isolating one-on-one, going to work, and they're going to have to hit a tremendous percentage.
Inside Perrault, they just back in and score.
Well, there's always that mismatch, but it works at the other end, too. Perrault's got to guard Ricky Price, and that's a mismatch on the perimeter. But Perrault's too big for Price, and he was too big for Langdon earlier. Down inside.
Blue Devils trailing by 5. As Blakely hands it over to Cable. Inside Meek, fouled by Duncan. This is the point we're making, and this is something the coaches emphasized in practice yesterday. Meek laid off Duncan a little bit, gave him some room to operate. The plan for today to be much more aggressive at both ends of the floor.
Well, the high-low that Duke runs is very difficult to defend. When they can keep that ball at the top of the key and they have Meek and Parks feeding each other, it's really difficult to defend because you don't have a weak side. In that case, defensively, you must have tremendous pressure on the ball to make it a tough entry pass. But early in the game, they went at Tim Duncan, and then they got away from it, hit a couple threes, and kind of drifted. Now it looks like they're trying to concentrate and go back after the big fella. Duncan playing the less of the offensive threats inside can help more and get the blocks. That's why when Scooter Banks plays that tough inside player, it frees up Duncan to kind of patrol the lane there and erase all those mistakes.
California, Eric Meek. Wonderful game against Georgia Tech Thursday. 14 points, 9 boards, 3 assists, a couple of blocks. Goes 1 for 2 at the line.
The sad part, Meek's shooting more free throws than any other Blue Devil, and he's their poorest free throw shooter. But it does show that he's attacking in there, and he's taking the ball to the hoop. Duke trying a little matchup zone here.
Tony Rutland in the ball game for the Deacons, number 30. Childress is out of there right now. Shot clock at 4, and Rutland misses. Rebound to Meek. Price. Oh, look at that move. Didn't get it to go. Duncan rebounds, falls over Parks. Play continues.
Blue Devils had a chance for a breakaway then. They're still a little slow at just releasing that ball, pushing it up the floor. If you're playing against the Deacons half-court defense, you're in big trouble.
Parole. Back out to Rutland. 2:55 left in the half. Wake Forest by 4.
You got to take a few chances with your break to beat Duncan down the floor. Because once he establishes inside, your offensive thinking has to change. He takes away the layup.
Scooter. And Langdon clears. Duke running. Here's Price.
Good job, Wake Forest, getting back.
Well, they've done that a couple of times, Bucky. Collins is in.
Even with that long rebound, they've recovered well.
Collins up and in. And a foul. On Parole. So Chris Collins comes off the bench and immediately hits the lay-in. He'll go to the line. Second foul on Parole. Boy, everybody, I think, in the Duke community is rooting for Chris Collins to pull out of this season-long shooting slump. Just 27% from the field this year. He hits the foul shot, and we've got a timeout on the floor. 2:11 left in the half. It is 29-28. Wake Forest by 1. We'll be right back. ACC basketball brought to you in part by Toyota. Wake Forest and head coach Dave Odom leading by 1 here at Duke, 29-28. And a point we should make, too, Buck, and these coaches are certainly well aware, the way the flavor of this half is going with that early Duke timeout. There is one more TV timeout, so we'll have that on the next dead ball here. So they may play for just a couple of seconds before we have another timeout. Field goal defense. Wake Forest has done a terrific job, but today, Duke, in firing those quick shots, they've been successful. Can it continue?
That's what we're all waiting to find out. Duke has been up and down. It's just very hard for them to sustain good play.
Look at Collins with the overplay in the passing lane, and he leaves it short. Hoping to get a whistle.
I think that's all right, though. I think Duke needs to be more assertive in transition, especially, again, making the point, beating Duncan down the floor, getting to the foul line. They were 14 for 18 against Georgia Tech from the foul line, and that was critical. They have not been a good free throw shooting team, next to last in the ACC. A minute 22 left in the half. Braswell. Childress up top. LaRue spots. Misses. Tipped up. There's Banks again, but Parks is able to secure it. Cable sets the play. 60 seconds left in the half. 29-28 Wake. Cable up and in. Touch floats up and in. Guess whose play he called? Good call.
Childress to Banks. Fakes. Goes up. Missed it. Scooter gets it back. Again rejected by Meek. Right charge, pure power, proud to present the ACC Player of the Week. Look for this feature prior to the second half tip-off. Duke wants one more shot. to close the half. Shot clock and the game clock neck and neck.
Duke had a critical turnover at the half against Georgia Tech. Lately talking to Gaudette, took his eyes off Travis Best. Travis got all his hubcaps, his watch, and his fillings. And it was a disheartening turnover to end the half.
Collins, he'll put it up. Short. Braswell's got it, and that's the half. Halftime score, it is Duke 30 and Wake Forest 29. We'll be back after this. And welcome back, everybody. This Duke-Wake game, a one-point game at the half, one of 3 ACC games today. Elsewhere, it was Virginia winning at Clemson 62-44. And number 8, Maryland pulled away from Florida State in the second half to win 80-65. Elsewhere today, Georgia wins big over Tennessee at the half. Arkansas trailing by 1, and early Florida all over South Carolina down in Gainesville. Well, this regular season race is a close one indeed. Maryland with a half a game lead. And let's bring you up to date on the final day that you can participate in our championship challenge. We have a toll-free number for you. It is 1-800-514-HOOPS, and you can vote on the team that you think will capture the ACC regular season title. Now, the contest winner will be selected from all the correct entries based on a random drawing and will receive a VIP trip for 2 to the 1995 DirecTV Grade A tournament at the Palace in Auburn Hills. Now, voting ends today. The winner will be announced during our ACC tournament coverage in March. And we mentioned that Maryland victory that has put Gary Williams' ball club back in first place by a half a game over North Carolina. The Tar Heels play at Georgia Tech tomorrow. Virginia with the win is just a game off the lead at 8-3, and the Deacons at 5-4. ACC basketball on the Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports Network will continue after these messages from your local ACC station.
This ACC basketball game is brought to you by your friends at Toyota.
Auto Parts Smart Play of the Week comes from last Saturday's Georgia Tech upset of 5th-ranked Maryland. On this play, Tech's Travis Best proves why he's one of the best point guards in the nation. Best is trapped on the baseline by the double team, but somehow spots Eddie Alisma and hits it with a behind-the-back pass, and Alisma banks the shot home. Another look shows that Best only caught a glimpse of Alisma, but put the ball right in his hands for the assist. And that's our Advanced Auto Parts Smart Play of the Week.
Welcome back. Duke leading by 1. Bob Rathman, Bucky Waters here at Cameron. Let's take a look at our halftime statistics. Bucky, what jumps out at you?
Well, the rebounding edge there by Wake Forest is quite amazing. Both teams are shooting extremely well, but they're really not handling the ball well. Both teams with more turnovers than assists.
Let's take a look next at one of the key plays in that first half, an MCI proof positive instant replay.
Well, the presence of Tim Duncan. Eric Meek is so concerned about containing Duncan that Jerry Braswell is able to go right by Jeff Capel, who just expects help that never comes. Too little, too late by the time Meek gets back in it. And that pretty much described the defense. It was porous both ways.
And we'll be back after this from right guard.
Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports' exclusive coverage of ACC basketball is brought to you by Bud Light, by Ford, by Discus Athletic, by DirecTV, by Continental Airlines, and by Food Line.
We are back at Cameron Indoor Stadium with the Wake Forest Demon Deacons coming out onto the floor, trailing by 1, 30-29. Now, Waters, you're the analyst on this. Duncan shooting 65% from the floor for the year. He's 1 for 5. The rest of the team shoots in the low 40s, and today they're 50%. You explain it.
Well, that's the reason all coaches see analysts a lot. And I'm not talking about the color guys. I'm talking about when they talk to you and you talk to them and you're lying down. College basketball is an asylum that's run by the inmates, man. The guys in the suits just kind of hang on.
But Duncan's got a streak of 6 straight double-doubles in jeopardy here. They go right inside to Perrault, and Ricky puts the Deeks back up by 1.
Boy, that was so quick. That looked like it might have been a 1-3-1 half-court zone. It was just so quick. It was bam, bam, but for sure, the Deacons found the man in the high post, Duncan, and he drilled it down.
Lang Duncan missing. Duncan with the rebound. Don't you love the way he holds that ball high and triggers the outlet?
9 for the game so far.
Inside, Banks stuffs.
I'm not sure Duke knows what defense it's in.
Scooter with 8. Duke scored the first 4 of the second half.
Well, you know, in that first game in Winston, it was Duke that led, and then Wake made the run.
Now Duke's going to take a timeout. Pete Gaudette sensing the same things you are, Bucky, that they're just shredding the defense, and they want to talk about it. We've played 52 seconds in the second half, but Duke calls a timeout.
Football can be exciting.
Here's a look at our game plan, Bucky.
Wake Forest just has to sit back, play their solid defense, and counterpunch. They don't need to do a lot of outrageous things on the road here at Cameron. Duke needs to capitalize on this Cameron crowd. They outscored in transition 11-2 in the first half. They need to push the ball up the floor and beat Wake Forest half-court defense.
Here's something, Bucky, to file away for the end of the game. Duke has only 1 timeout left.
They've been squandered. Although I think Gaudette made a wise call right there at the start of the second half to make sure it doesn't slip away. You know, that first game in Winston-Salem was Duke that led early and Wake came from behind. So it was the exact opposite because Wake led by 9 in the first half, but the Blue Devils with a strong 14-4 finish put them up 1 at the half. But they came out sleepwalking and the Deacons make you pay.
Well, Duke gets a break as that board went off the hands of Banks. Meek rips down the offensive rebound. The Chief, that's a 2-pointer. Meek the offensive glass. Duke had 25 offensive rebounds in game 1. Cable for 3.
And still only shot 32%. That was amazing. Good timeout by Gaudette. Devils right back even.
Childress. Not this time. Duke can get the lead back here. Trying to snap a 4-game losing streak to Wake Forest. The lob in. Did Eric push off? He did. Meek trying to get away from Duncan with the push. And that's the second foul on the 6'10 senior Eric Meek.
Very few fouls in that first half. No one close to the bonus.
Rutland is in. Corral from Hampton, and out of the game goes Braswell.
Excuse me, Bob. Corral, the only player that finished with 2 fouls at the half, so there's no reason why both these teams have anything to say. They can go after it. Just set a pick on Meek. He got his sinuses rearranged. Trying to free Duncan. Meek is not only big and strong, he plays very hard.
Tied at 33. Langdon trying to measure Perall, but Ricky with those long arms. Good pass by Meek to kick it right back to Blakeney.
You know, Perall did a good job on Babasura down at Tallahassee. That size, forcing that player to put the ball on the floor and driving them at Tim Duncan. Not a bad concept.
Here's Scooter Banks. And Rutland is able to pick up the loose change.
Rutland played in Tallahassee against Florida State and then has not practiced since that game. Just arrived today. Mom is sick in Hampton, and he's been home with her.
Eric Meek absorbs the punishment, much to the delight of the new crowd. Taking the charge. Second on Childress.
Now, we talked about that shot blocking earlier, Bob, and that's an exciting play, but, you know, there's just as much effect long-term to that big man not going for the ball and drawing the charge. Because the next time you go in there, you're not sure which way he's going to go. With a guy like Duncan, you know he's going for the block, and you can alter the shot, you can go hard. But if that guy changes up on you, then he's got you tiptoeing.
Tied at 33. The lob into Eric Meek, and scores. Boy, there's that high-low game.
Yes, very observant. You got to have great pressure on the ball. Those 2 big guys will kill you with a high wire act.
Perall, 3-pointer. Yes. Ricky with the 3. He's got double figures for just the 5th time this year.
That's a great stroke by the Spaniard. Just high and soft. You got to make him put it on the floor and take it to the basket.
Meek fouled by Banks as Duncan got a piece of the ball. First on
Duke got nice play from their bench in the first half. 9 points. Wake Forest got only 3.
The man behind the camera, Jimmy Vanderford, and a proud new papa. Well, we're all so happy. Way to go, Pop.
Already taking baby pictures, right?
Little Maria came into the world. So happy for him.
A month early and everybody's fine.
Here's Eric Meek with his 4th point of the game.
Free throw shooting really has been difficult for Duke this year.
66% coming in.
Even when they beat Notre Dame up at South Bend, they were just about 50% from the line, like 16 for 34. And had they been playing an ACC team, that probably would have been another loss. That's why the Georgia Tech game was so important. They hit free throws. They did all the things that they haven't been doing and letting the close games get away. Georgia Tech, by the way, just playing marvelous basketball without James Forrest. That was their first loss after 4 straight wins.
Here's Rudlin. Needs some help. Shot clock at 6, and Randolph connects. 10 for Childress.
Randolph's mother must have been frightened by something in dark blue when he was very small. You put a blue jersey on, and this guy goes lights out. Boy, he's been tough on the Blue Devils.
I should say so. 28 last year at Wake.
Winning basket here.
There's the Chiefs with 8.
And then in the first game in Winston-Salem, he had 2 in the first half, 22 in the second half. When it gets going tough, just look for him. He'll have the ball.
They run Childress off the double screen to the left inside to Duncan. Tim misses. And Capel there to get it.
Capel just will not push that ball up the floor.
Look at Langdon float in. Meek keeps it alive. Now Perrault has it. A lot of dribbling by Capel.
Yep. They've got a chance to get numbers, but they're going to have to not dribble, but push that ball up the floor.
Oh, and a foul. Let's see which way it goes. It's going to be on Wake. Good reach around by Meek. Boy, he's really playing well. It's time to play fast takes. Identify the player that appeared in the Continental Airlines halftime feature. Call 1-800-836-3ACC within 24 hours to enter. And the secret code is 75. 14-10 remaining. Tied at 39. Eric gets a breather. Collins is back in for the Devils, along with Greg Newton. Parks. Childress secures. Randolph banking, missing. Duncan and Parks fight for it. Newton had it slapped out of his hand, and that's the 3rd on Randolph Childress. With 13:45 to play.
Might not have been a bad foul, except it was the 3rd, because I'll tell you one thing, Greg Newton was going to push that ball. Childress off bounce, a leaner. Cherokee can't quite get the handle, and Newton was looking to launch the long outlet pass. Childress took a chance, and he lost. He doesn't make many mental mistakes out there.
This game has featured 4 ties, 7 lead changes. Newton. And Parks into Duncan. Scores!
Cherokee into the teeth of the lion, just went right at Tim Duncan. Kenny Blakely tracking Childress.
Rutland. Up ahead, here's Price. Watch him explode. To the trailing Newton. Now that's transition. And Newton's hurt. Newton is hurt. Time is called. Boy, he really took a tumble after jamming that one in. And boy, the Duke faithful just
This is Duke basketball as folks have come to know it over the last several years. The big guy trucking Greg Newton. Very ungraceful ending, but the break, the slam, shooting free throws, this is how they build a reputation, and they've just been kind of walking it around, and this crowd loving it. Amen and amen.
Duke's biggest lead.
Watch Wake now just kind of simmer everything down.
Yeah, they call number 22, and that's a blocking foul on Newton, and look out, or Meek rather. Eric showing displeasure with the call. That will be the third on Eric, and Childress coming right at him.
Here's Eric Meek again, preoccupied. I think it was a good call. When Childress left the floor, Eric was still moving in.
Yep. Excellent call by Steve Gordon.
How they do that, I don't know. When I first saw it, I thought they had blown it.
That's why.
But again, Eric Meek is being tied so tightly, trying to keep Duncan from just destroying him inside, that he had to come too far to make that save.
That's why Fred Barricat's got the best referees in the business. That's how they can make that call. Childress now with a dozen.
Bob, that's a salient statement, and people around the country would agree with that. We get on them when we're our favorite team, when we think they miss one, but believe me, it's amazing. Absolutely amazing. They're almost always right, but they're not perfect.
That was the first time that Childress has been to the line today. Blakeney to the hole. Well, that time it was the Wake Forest defense that evaporated.
Yeah, well, Eric Meek was putting a slow dance on Tim Duncan. Tim was trying to get around, and Eric was about as wide as California, not to make the tunnel.
Duncan up and off. A tip by Banks. Newton rebound.
Duke's bench really stepping up today. Collins, Newton, Price, all playing well for the Blue Devils.
Ricky for three. And Banks had the solid position.
Greg Newton has run up a few backs, but that's experience. He managed to beg off that one.
Childress with a great feed. Banks draws the foul, count the bucket. Boy, you talk about two seniors who know what they're doing.
Great pump fake here. Again, the penetration pass, so easy. Childress drawing a crowd, laying it off. Meek trying to come off the Duncan to help.
Now Eric has to go out with his fourth foul. And the Chief comes right back in. And Scooter Banks trying to polish off a three-point play. That would pull the Deeks within one.
That's going to screw up the rotation for Pete Gaudette. Newton has a little difficulty with stamina. I mean, rotating in and out is fine. He's going to have to go a long stretch now.
Newton had a notion. Gets closer. Shoots and misses. Rebound Duncan.
That was an error of commission.
And another. 11-11 remaining in this ACC contest. We'll return after this message from Continental, the official airline of the ACC. Duke leading Wake Forest by 2, 45-43 with 11-11 left. Jeff Capel, the bench, will celebrate his 20th birthday tomorrow. This is a look at the cover of the Wake basketball guide from 86-87. And standing next to Muggsy, none other than Jeff Capel. His dad was an assistant at Wake Forest at the time. And Jeff made the cover of that media guide and probably will make the cover of the Duke media guide in a couple of years. Happy birthday a day early to Jeff Capel.
If Muggsy ever had hopes of posting him up, I hope he did it then, because Jeff Capel's turned into a very strong 6'5 forward.
Now the Deacons,
combination forward guard.
Deacons showing a little press that time after the timeout.
Nice move after a timeout. It's interesting to watch teams coming out of a timeout. It's a real good chance to see coaching, because that's the one time they're totally in control from an offensive standpoint as to what they execute, and it's a great time for the defense to just change the defense and give them another problem.
Shot clock at 6. Here's Price inside. Newton has to get rid of it. Misses. And Hart slams the follow.
Tim Duncan, only 1 of 8 today from the floor. He does have 11 boards. In here last year as a freshman, he had only 8 points and 7 rebounds. But he had a huge game in Winston-Salem earlier this year. I mean, huge.
Well, that'll help your percentage.
Yes. Now he's 2 for 9. He must be tuned in here. Looking up here, glaring at you. It was you that said it.
And you know, the thing too is Price is fouled. He'll shoot a pair.
Look at this first step. Boy, this is an exciting player. He's going to learn some discretion, but just pure equipment. He's capable of making the kind of athletic plays that a Grant Hill makes.
Great feed from Rutland.
Nope. No pressure on the ball. Duke defenders guarding the belt line. The easy pass over the top. You got to get up in the perimeter players, get those hands high, force them to turn their back, or at least throw a higher trajectory pass. Because if you let them look down inside and find Tim Duncan, I know he's not having a good day today, but in the first game, as they well remember, he had 18 points, 8 boards, and 7 skyjacks.
Ricky Price at 16 in that Carolina double overtime game. Scores his 7th here. The announcers for this game selected and compensated by Raycom and Jefferson Pilot Sports, and the use of this broadcast without their express permission is prohibited. Under 10 to play here at Cameron. Bob Rathman, Bucky Waters with you. It is 48-45 Duke. As Childress comes up on Blakeney. This is Rusty LaRue. Duncan handles, draws the double. Spins in. Pass to Banks. Good inside ball movement.
Tim Duncan just doesn't get flustered in there. He doesn't put it on the floor, keeps it, draws a crowd, and he's becoming a much better passer in that crowded lane area.
Now the Deacons have a chance to get the lead back, trailing by 1. Randolph has scored 13 today, 5 here in the second half. Wake Forest very content to remain patient. They go to the double stack. Childress lost the handle in the penetration, and the held ball between Langdon and Childress. And the possession gives the ball to Duke, I believe.
I still think a wise move for Duke is to continue to try to push that ball up the floor. Childress and Duncan both trying to play 39 minutes a game for Dave Odom, and that puts pressure on him. And then in the set offense, I really think they need to find Cherokee Parks. He has not had many touches, and he is the main man.
Up and off. Follows and hits off the glass. Didn't give up.
Terrific offensive rebound.
Childress saw a little daylight through the blocking foul on Langdon. He does this so well. Nations Bank and Crawford Carter of the 96 Olympics presents this Olympic trivia question. And here it is. Wake Forest baseball program sent 3 Olympians to the 88 games. Only 1, however, represented the U.S. Which country did the others represent? We'll have the answer a little bit later. One of the keys, certainly when you're defending Wake, is to keep this guy off the foul line. It's a lot of points here.
Well, he's so deceptive. The Duke defense sliding over. The last time it was Meek, this time Trajan Langdon. You think you're going to make it in time, but he's deceptively quick, and he gets right up on you, and he takes off a little earlier than you're anticipating. Thereby, your move into him is a block, and they're good calls.
Collins for Blakeney. Second toss for Childress. Randolph with 15, 4 at the foul line. He averages just about 8 free throws a game, attempts.
Well, he's 79% from the line. I don't know what his stat is under 5 minutes, but it's extraordinary.
Pressure by the Deeps.
Not a bad move. Not a real point guard on the floor. I don't consider capable of a point guard. He's still in transition as a 2-guard, a wing player, and he tends to try to make big plays when you pressure him. So those are good ploys by the Deeks.
Collins kicks it out. Langdon for 3. And Duncan secures. 50-49. Duke by 1.
The Deacons, the counter punchers, Going at a Lawrenceville tempo.
Here's Childress throwing it up and off. Did not draw the foul. Duncan way short.
Is Meek a warrior or what? Nothing pretty. He just beats on people. Scooter Banks, his counterpart inside, doing a terrific job on Cherokee Park. But Duke's not looking for Cherokee.
Collins for three. Boy, that had to feel good. This is 9th three-pointer of the season. 53-49. Duke through it all. Bucky has been able to keep Wake Forest at arm's length. Deacons make a little run. Duke has been able to come up with a big shot.
Yeah, but on the road, I'm sure the Deacons are pleased to be right here. They're very good in the close games.
Duncan, and he handles it. Shot clock at 5. Banks has to put it up and drains it.
Pressure on the ball, pressure on the ball. Duke's still a little passive looking at perimeter players, enabling them to get the good shot and make the easy feed inside.
Boy, another close one for the Devils here at Cameron. They've played so many this season. They've won only one. That's Thursday. Deacons right there with him. Parks for three. Nope. Here's Meek battling. Collins saving. Capel penetrating. Loose ball, and the Deacons will have it. Look at Perrault. Scoot it to Scooter. And a foul on Collins.
Wake Forest not averse to taking the fast break. Sneaky, under control. They got a good opportunity.
Timeout on the floor here at Cameron. 6 minutes and 19 seconds left in our game. It's a 2-point lead for Duke, and we'll be back after this message from Bud Light. Here's a look at the You'll Love This Stuff play of the game. Meek will miss this shot, Bucky, but keep an eye on the Jeep.
Coming right down the lane, right over Mr. Timothy Duncan. Newton a little hard off the iron, but nobody puts a body on Cherokee.
Parks has scored 12. In the second half of the game, the other night against Georgia Tech, the Chief made some big plays. And again, we spoke earlier in the half about the solid play. 12 points and 7 rebounds, but no fouls today for Parks. That's interesting.
Eric Meek has 4, and I look for Wake Forest to try to take a run at him and get that 5th one.
Childress, as he is so apt to do, draws the foul and will go to the line.
Pretty clear, Bob, that Pete Gaudet's got the problem of trying to pry the ball out of Randolph Childress' hands. Dave Odom has just put his chips right on number 22, and he's backed everybody off, and that's going to control the clock and put a pressure player in control of his destiny, and at the free throw line.
I thought that ball was going to dive exhaustion on the rim, but it falls in. 16 for Randolph.
Randolph Childress does have 3 fouls, so looking at it from the other standpoint, whomever Randolph is guarding, I would expect Duke trying to take advantage, maybe trying to get that 4th one on him, which would certainly not take him out of the game, but might make him a little more tentative with the basketball for fear of drawing that 5th one. It's certainly worth a shot. I would drive right at him, and Capel is strong enough to take that advantage.
Randolph with 6 free throws here in the second half. That ties the game at 53. And Randolph defensively matched up with Capel right now. Meek over to Jeff. 3. No. Rebound Perrault and Blakeney on his back.
I think Pete Gaudet would like for Jeff Capel to put that ball on the floor and taking him to the basket.
Our trivia question. Wake Forest baseball program with 3 Olympians, 1 representing the U.S. The other country represented, our neighbors to the north, Canada, with Frank Humber and Warren Sarkey. And we span the globe from Canada to Spain. Here's Perrault at the line.
You're a geography major. I'm all for you.
Loose ball, out of bounds to Wake. Front end of a 1-and-1, missed by Rookie, but the Deeks hang on to it.
Again, remember, Wake Forest, #1 in the ACC, 75% free throw shooting team, which means a lot toward the strategy right now that Dave Odom is employing. He wants to slow this sucker down. He's willing to take his chances on the foul line.
Here's Duncan. He's had a rough day offensively. And Duke comes up with the ball. Childress got a hand on it and broke it up. Banks takes it back. Rutland for 3. Nope, he'll drive to the basket. Dishes to Banks. That one taken away. And into the hands of Chris Collins. Boy, what a turn of events. Wake was all set to take the lead. Instead, it's now Duke by 2.
Great defensive play that time by the Deacons at midcourt because there were 2 Blue Devils wide open waiting for a layup.
Childress launches. And the Deeks indeed take the lead by 1 on the 3 from Childress. Boy, they've seen that here at Cameron Indoor Stadium a lot.
Again, Childress with 3 fouls.
56-55 Deacons.
Go at him. Go at him.
Eric Meek couldn't squeeze it around Duncan.
Eric with 4 fouls, taking the risk of a charge, but that's the way he plays. He went right at Duncan.
Randolph and Timmy walking up the floor.
Again, that Duke bench outscoring the Wake bench 15-3. That's a significant stat. Of course, we understand Tony Rutland has not practiced their key 6th man because of an illness in his family, has not really been in practice since the game in Tallahassee on Wednesday, and I'm sure that's taken away from bench performance by the Deacons.
Well, the shot clock at 2, and the blocking foul on Blakeney. That draws a chorus of boos from the Cameron faithful.
22 draws the contact here. Kenny Blakeney, a pretty good defender. Either way, 51-49. Blakeney really playing great defense, and sometimes even great defense. Not good enough against this guy.
Randolph Childress will be at the line for Wake Forest.
Since Childress has been at Wake, they've finished no lower than 3rd in the ACC. The Deeks had 4 straight losing years until he showed up, and he has made life miserable for the Blue Devils. Childress with a 16-point second half going, and 6 of 6 at the line. 21 coming. And he missed it. What a break for the Blue Devils. Under 4 to play. And the whistle on Scooter Banks. It will be his 2nd foul. That's the 6th team foul on Wake Forest, so Duke will play it from out of bounds. And we have a timeout here at Cameron Indoor Stadium. 3 minutes and 50 seconds remaining in this ACC tussle from Cameron. And we've got a 1-point game. Proved positive instant replay. Little pinball action on this one, Bud.
Good double team. Capel creates a loose ball, gets it shoved straight upwards. Banks reverses. They come back. Childress. Rutland with a good fake goes to the hoop. Scooter gets stripped again. This time it's Chris Collins, who is 3 for 5 today. A big game off the bench. 8 points. And he banks one in, narrowly missing Randolph Childress, who tried to fly in there and strip it from him. Nobody could get a fork in that one at midcourt.
It's pretty good play-by-play, I might add.
Oh, yeah.
Part.
Yes.
Excellent. 56-55, Wake. Both teams in the bonus now. Blakeney driving through, and the foul will be on Duncan. Second on Tim.
I'm not sure, coming out of that timeout, Blakeney was trying to drive on Randolph Childress, but by using the pick, they created the switch. So when Blakeney made the turn, he was looking at big people and not Randolph Childress.
Kenny Blakeney has scored 4.
Not a good free throw shooter. Has not been at 57%, right? And part of the problem, the perimeter guys for Duke. Blakeney shooting 55 or 57. Jeff Capel at 63%. Wojciechowski 54%. Those are the guys that are probably going to get fouled at the end of a game. The ball handler.
Kenny 2 for 2. Duke leading 57-56. It has been close all afternoon. Childress inside to Duncan. Bounce to Banks. What a pass!
I don't think Childress made that pass. I thought the shot was deflected right to Duncan. I mean, from our location, it was tough, but I'd like to give him credit for that pass, but I really think it was a deflection.
Well, like they say on Broadway, how'd you come out? That's right. It worked out just fine.
They all look like line drives in the paper tomorrow, don't they?
Collins, long three, in and out. Boy, tough break for Chris. Wake Forest with a 1-point lead. Well, Randolph just slowly walking it up. Now takes it on the wing. Perrault with a high screen. The timeout situation. Duke burned a couple early today. 2:25 to play. Shot clock at 6. Childress has to hurry. Beats the Duncan. Timmy's shot is no good. And the rebound to Eric Meek. Long outlet to the Chief.
Randolph Childress appears tired to me.
Yes, I agree with you.
He is not as crisp as he usually is in these end-of-game situations.
Coming up on the 2-minute mark.
A tired Randolph Childress is better than most in these end-of-game situations.
Parks back out to Blakeney. Here's Collins. Back to Kenny. The runner. No good, and Duncan has it. 16 rebounds today for Duncan, so even though he's scored only 4, his presence has still been a major one under the bucket. Timeout, Wake Forest, and I think a good one here by Dave Odom to give his troops a breather. 1:36 to play, and we'll return after these messages from the Atlantic Coast Conference.
Be a part of the 1995 Atlantic Coast Conference basketball tournament with your copy of the official tournament program. For just $9.95, you can get your collector's edition program pack full of information, stats, and this year, a special trading card insert. To order, call 1-800-488-6000 to get your copy of the official ACC tournament program. That's $9.95, including shipping and handling. Call 1-800-488-6000. MasterCard and Visa accepted.
Wake Forest, 58. Duke 57, 1:36 left. Wake with the ball as Dave Odom uses the timeout. We talked about the day that Tim Duncan is having only 4 points, but the rest of his game, Bucky, has been sensational. Here's what he's done in the last 6 games, all double figures in points and rebounds. Look at that Winthrop game when he had 23 boards to set the record, his personal best. And, of course, the rest against the ACC competition. Today, 2 of 11 from the floor, but 16 rebounds, 3 blocks, and 5 assists.
Double-double Duncan. He's still got a chance for a double-double with blocks and rebounds, even if his scoring is down. Phenomenal athlete, and he kills you softly.
Shot clock now at 11 as LaRue fires and hits a big 2-pointer for Rusty LaRue to put Wake Forest up by 3.
Great move by Odom out of the timeout. Everybody looking for Duncan and Childress. A great screen for LaRue. He comes off wide open and finishes.
Langdon up and in. Creighton with 9, his first second-half basket. 60-59. The Wake lead is 1. We've got another nail-biter at Cameron and another Wake Forest timeout. Dave Odom has 1 more to work with. 54 seconds to play, and Wake Forest leading 60-59. This Wake Forest ball club, after the Duke game today, returns to Lawrence Joe Coliseum, and they'll take on the Maryland Terrapins. A Wednesday night matchup in primetime at 9 p.m. Check your local listings for the station in your area. That should be a dandy, but it would be hard-pressed to beat this one today. This has been a wonderful struggle between two old rivals, Duke and Wake.
Wake in here trying to make it 3 in a row in Cameron, but they've had some tough times. You look at their losses this year, 11 to Florida way back in early December, and Florida, like the other Final Four teams, with the exception of Arizona, really struggling this year. Duke and Arkansas being two that are struggling. Duke struggling worse than Arkansas, but Arkansas had everybody back. But Wake has lost by 2 at Georgia Tech, by 1 at home to Carolina, and an absolutely phenomenal escape by the Tar Heels. And then at Florida State the other night by 2, and it went to Randolph Childress, who had the last shot. They didn't play to tie. They played to win, and one of the few times that he's missed. That's 3 ACC losses by a total of 5 points. So the Deacons have been here before. Childress has been here before, and he's never really failed.
You turn those games around, and Wake Forest in first place.
Yeah, but everybody can go through their season, and yeah, but, you know.
That's the fun of it. They tried to get Collins into the game, but too late. So Chris at the scorer's table.
Well, I'm not sure. I think Collins is in there for an offensive substitution if they can get the possession.
Banks. Duke trailing 60-59.
Godet has a timeout.
It's Capel to Meek. Oh, look at the slam by the big man. Duke by 1. 28 seconds left.
Collins is still at the scoring table. He's going to have to come in if there's a dead ball.
Now a whistle stops play. And there is a wet spot on the floor where Scooter Banks went down, and they did not have a chance to mop it up. Now the ball boys are out there to take care of it. Look at Duncan go to get Capel. That frees up some space for Meek.
And the train comes down like the lead bowler in an avalanche. Eric Meek, who's been all over this court today, gets what might be the winning basket. There he is. As a money player, he's no small change.
It comes down to this. The ball in Randolph Childress's hands and the game on the line. Randolph from 14, got it! And Wake Forest leads by 1. Duke timeout with 6 seconds to play. Randolph did not hit it in Tallahassee. He hits it in Durham, and for the second straight year, a last-second shot by Randolph Childress puts Wake Forest ahead of Duke.
Wow. Here it is. Watch. Blakey just about as good as you can get, matching hands. If there was a sight there, he had to put it between fingertips. Randolph Childress gets his tonsils checked by Kenny Blakely, but the money player delivers yet one more time. In here last year with 11 seconds, he did it in a controversial play because Mike Krzyzewski thought it was a 2-point shot and the score was tied. As it turned out, it was a 3-point shot. His team was down, and Wake kind of managed to skate out. No controversy here. Duke now has 6 seconds to go 94 feet. They do not have another timeout. Wake Forest is in the bonus. They've got to go deep, and they've got to get it on the glass quick. I think it's very important that Eric Meek, if I'm Wake Forest, I got to worry about the second shot because I think Duke's going to be smart enough to get it to half court, get it on the glass, and give those two big guys, the Bruce brothers, a chance for an offensive rebound.
You think back to the Carolina game, Bucky, and the end of that first overtime, Capel was able to hit that unbelievable shot. He certainly got the range, and in a hurry-up transition situation might be able to get one off. Not thinking 3, perhaps, but he's the kind of guy who can make some space for himself and fire it up.
6 seconds, an awfully long time. Wake Forest has shown a 2-2-1 full court zone press, but right now wisely man pressure.
And it is Capel. 3 seconds. 2. Jeff for the win. No good. And the Deacons have done it again. Wake Forest for the 3rd straight year wins at Duke. Randolph Childress hits the shot, and then the Wake Forest defense watching Capel miss, and the Blue Devils fall at home once again. The final score, Wake Forest 62 and Duke 61. And again, Randolph Childress wears the hero's mantle for the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. What a game. The Deacons are now 6-4 in the ACC. Duke falls at home. We'll be back after this message from Bud Light.